In the crowded audition hall, the air felt electrified the moment the poor boy, known only by the World City nickname, Nairobi, stepped beneath the blinding stage lights. He wasn't dressed like the other contestants. His shirt was faded from years of sun, his pants were patched in 3 different places, and his shoes looked like they had survived a lifetime of walking across continents. Yet none of that mattered to him, because Nairobi carried something far heavier than worn-out clothes. He carried the weight of a life built on struggle, survival, and unbearable silence. Behind his quiet presence existed the stories of street corners in Manila, the crowded lanes of Lagos, the storm-beaten rooftops of Havana, and the dusty bus stops of Kathmandu. He was a living map of hardship, a human symbol of children across the world who rise every day with nothing but hope to keep them going. Before entering the audition room, Nairobi had worked countless hours near the old Cemon cow well, a broken village water pit, where he spent long days trying to earn a few coins. The Cemon cow well wasn't a place of comfort. It was a place where heavy buckets, muddy water, and hunger blended into one exhausting routine. That well represented his life, cracked, forgotten, and overworked, but somehow still standing. Every morning, when the sun rose over the rooftops of his village, he could hear echoes of world cities in his dreams: Tokyo's trains, New York's streets, Rio's music, Cairo's call to prayer. These cities became imaginary friends, names he used to push himself forward. He believed that even a boy with nothing could still dream in the language of the world. When he stepped onto that stage, the audience whispered as if a secret had just walked in front of him. Even the judges, people who had seen thousands of performers from Paris, Mumbai, Johannesburg, and Istanbul, were instantly struck by something different about this kid. He didn't carry the nervous energy of someone chasing fame. He carried the calm seriousness of someone who had lived through storms others could never imagine. His eyes told stories of long nights without food, of days when he sank quietly to himself beside the Cemon cow well just to feel alive, and of moments when he wondered if his dreams were too big for a boy as small as him. The judges sensed all of it before he even opened his mouth. They could feel the history etched into his posture, the heaviness of a child who had walked through life with nothing but raw determination. Nairobi stood still, hands trembling slightly, breathing deeply like someone preparing for the most important moment of their life. And maybe it was. For the first time ever, the world wasn't ignoring him. The world was watching him. In that moment, the lights didn't just shine on Nairobi. They revealed the truth of who he was, a poor boy shaped by work, struggle, and dreams so powerful that even a broken Cemon cow well couldn't drown them. And when he finally lifted his head, the room felt it instantly. The story of every forgotten child on earth was standing right there on that stage. The moment Nairobi began singing, the entire audition hall felt as if the world had stopped spinning. His voice didn't arrive softly. It came in like a wave, deep, trembling, and filled with the kind of pain that only a harsh life can create. It was a voice shaped not by training or music classes, but by survival itself. Every note he released carried the spirit of Manila's crowded alleys, the sorrow of Mumbai's railway platforms, the loneliness of Moscow's winter streets, and the burning hope of Buenos Aires' night skies. His sound traveled beyond borders, weaving through the imaginary streets of Rome, Seoul, Dubai, Nairobi itself, and Mexico City. Each city became part of him, and part of his voice, turning his performance into a global heartbeat. The judges exchanged looks filled with disbelief. This wasn't just talent. This was truth being sung out loud. The rawness in Nairobi's tone came from days when he stood by the Cemon cow well, singing quietly to distract himself from hunger and exhaustion. That old, broken well had heard more of his voice than any human audience ever had. It was the place where he learned how to turn pain into music, how to transform silence into hope, and how to use his voice to escape a world that constantly tried to crush him. The judges could hear those memories in every rise and fall of his melody. As his voice climbed higher, the room felt smaller, as if his story was squeezing every heart inside it. People in the audience leaned forward unconsciously, drawn into the invisible journey he was taking them on. A journey through cities they had never visited but felt deeply connected to. His voice didn't just echo inside the hall. It felt like it traveled across oceans, flowing through the glittering streets of New York, the peaceful canals of Amsterdam, and the vibrant roads of Cape Town. By the time he reached the chorus, the emotional power of his performance overwhelmed everyone. The judges blinked rapidly, trying but failing to hold back the flood of tears. It wasn't the song that broke them. It was the boy behind the song. When Nairobi finished the final note, the entire hall fell into a silence so deep it felt sacred. For a moment, no one moved. No one breathed. It was as if time itself froze to honor what they had just witnessed. The boy standing on stage, thin, tired, and wearing clothes that told stories of struggle, had just delivered a performance powerful enough to shake hearts across continents. He wasn't just a contestant. He was the voice of every forgotten child from New York's subways, London's rainy streets, Sydney's harbors, Jakarta's night markets, and Casablanca's old stone paths. In that instant, Nairobi was no longer one boy. He was the entire world standing tall in human form. The judges, who had listened to thousands of singers from every corner of the globe, could not hide their emotions. Tears streamed down their faces freely, falling faster with every second they tried to compose themselves. They weren't crying because of the notes he sang. They were crying because of the life behind those notes. They saw the boy who once stood beside the Cemon cow well, singing into the open sky because he had no microphone, no music, and no audience except tired cattle and fading sunlight. They imagined him working through endless days of hunger, dust, and loneliness, dreaming that someday someone, anyone, would hear him. Today, the world did. As the silence gradually broke, the audience rose in a wave, people clapping, cheering, and crying all at once. It was the kind of reaction that only comes once in a lifetime. Nairobi looked around, overwhelmed, realizing that this moment, this stage, was a universe away from the Cemon cow well where his journey began. The judges knew instantly that they were not looking at an ordinary talent. They were witnessing a miracle created by hardship, a global symbol of resilience, a child who carried the dreams of Paris, Bangkok, Toronto, Istanbul, and every city where a kid hopes for something bigger. On that stage, Nairobi proved that even the poorest boy can rise high enough to touch the sky.